I just saw the Barbie movie. Yes, believe it or not. And I don't think Greta Gerwig intended this, but I think she made one of the most unintentional based movies of this year, which really kind of exposed all the problems with intersectionality. Let's get into it, shall we? Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface, the Barbie movie. Oh my. Now I'll say immediately off the bat, certainly not a movie that was made for me. Or was it? Because as I just said in the introduction, I think this movie inadvertently, because I think Greta Gerwig absolutely went into this film thinking she was going to create some sort of feminist power trip, accidentally made this the most based movie I've seen in a long time, and highlighted all the problems with current day modern feminism and intersectionality. And the heroes actually ended up being villains, and the villains ended up kind of being the heroes. You might have seen the massive rant by Shadiversity about it. You might have heard Gary from Nerdrotic talk about how terrible it was. But I got to say, when I personally saw it, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And believe it or not, I found myself laughing in multiple places. But again, I don't think this was the intention of Greta Gerwig. Far from it. It's just that she went so far to the extreme when it came to the feminism and messaging that it came across as parody and satire, and so I spent a good portion of the film just laughing along at these characters. So the movie starts in Barbie Land or Barbie World or whatever, this fake fictional place where the Barbies and the Kens exist and everything's perfect. For the Barbies, they get up, they get dressed automatically, they drink and eat nothing but simulate it. They go for showers where there's no water because it's toys. It's all pretend, and it works, and it's fine. They then meet the Kens, and the Kens are, unfortunately, the subspecies. They don't have houses, and they simply exist to make Barbie happy. It makes their day if Barbie just gives them a look or a hello. This actually makes the Kens very sympathetic, and you begin to take their side almost immediately because of the harsh treatment that they get from these Barbies in their perfect world where nothing's wrong and every day is a wonderful day. Until one mother in the real world starts drawing concepts for a new Barbie. A Barbie that's neurotic and constantly thinking about when they get Minecrafted, and that filters in to the stereotypical Barbie, which is played by Margot Robbie. She starts to have these thoughts which interfere with her perfect life in Barbie Land, and she has to go off into the real world to confront the woman and sort out these issues. Only then will she be allowed to return back to Barbie Land and her life can get back to being fantastic. Life in plastic. In a desperate attempt to get Barbie's attention, Ken jumps into the back of the mobile and hitches a lift to the real world unbeknownst to Barbie for a while. And once they get there, Ken begins to experience people being nice to him for a change. Whereas Barbie needs to try and find who this person is that's having these thoughts about what Barbie could be, neurotic and a bit of a mess. But again, ironically, the real world is actually California, which is probably the furthest from real life as you can get on planet Earth. And everything has been dialed up to 15, never mind 11. Every single solitary man there is some sort of misogynistic, sexist pig slapping Barbie's ass, giving her catcalls, all this kind of business, which of course just wouldn't exist at all. The CEO and all of the board of Mattel are just white guys and men. There aren't any women there. It's as if in California, current day, women have no rights. They have nothing. And because this is so ridiculous, because we see how much control women have in every facet of our industries right now, particularly entertainment and geek culture, it of course comes across as nothing but satire. So you actually end up not relating, empathizing, or sympathizing with the women, but you end up laughing at them. Whereas at the same time, you suddenly have Ken getting some respect from people, some courtesy from people, some kindness to people, and you begin to root for Ken. Even when he goes into the library, reads up on the patriarchy, and decides to take that back to Barbie Land in an effort to readdress the complete and utter imbalance that currently exists there. Barbie discovers the woman and her daughter who are having issues with each other and have fallen out of love with Barbie. A real-life Barbie now exists, and then they all team up to head back to Barbie Land to overthrow the patriarchy. Oh my goodness me. However, the patriarchy has brought balance and peace and love to Barbie Land. The Kens are now getting attention from the Barbies, and the Barbies are loving it. They have suddenly been programmed as some sort of virus. The patriarchy is a virus which has infected these women to be courteous to men, to want to be with men, to be nice and chill out with them and hang out with them and party with them. Suddenly, Barbie Land has equality. And if there's anything a feminist hates, it's equality. So Barbie, as the hero, who's really the antagonist, has to rebalance Barbie Land all the way back to the women and make the men homeless and subservient to them once again. Barbie succeeds, although she goes into the real world, gets herself a vagina, and the other Barbies, though, they stay and they get their houses back, and the Kens are once again second-class citizens with no rights and no power, which, according to Greta Gerwig, is how women currently exist in today's society, which is such a laughable message that once again, it comes across as satirical, and you end up laughing at the Barbies, not rooting for them or sympathizing or empathizing with them. So with that absolute mess of a storyline out of the way, the reason why I actually thought this movie was fine and I actually chuckled along for most of it was the fact that the messaging, again, so extreme, so ridiculous, so current day in the way that it tries to play victim culture that it just came across as nothing but satirical. The whole cinema was laughing along with Ken. These are the women in the cinema because it was just women and me and my mate. But we had our stories ready in case anyone questioned why we're here. Oh, we're just a couple of regular gay guys just watching, just Pink, and stuff. We had that down to a T. We were out of there before Chris Hansen started coming in around the back and asking us to take seats and shit. Anyway, but they were laughing along with Ken. The audience were behind Ken. Whenever there was a feminist moment, or at the end, there's a big feminist speech, which is ridiculous because it's just a woman venting life, what life is about, every struggle that we as people go through in life. But all of those messages that were read out, did any of the women in the audience go, yay, or woo, or clap, or anything? No, silence, absolute silence. All the laughs came from either slapstick humor with Margot Robbie or the bulk of them, Ken. Ryan Gosling as Ken, who was just hilarious. Every delivery of a line, every look, every little movement and nuance, he absolutely nailed it. And not only did he nail it, but you really wanted him to succeed. Because ultimately, all Ken wanted to do throughout the whole movie was just be there for Barbie. Be there for the woman he loved. He would do anything for her. She only had to ask. And that's the crazy thing about this movie, because at the end, when balance is restored to Barbie Land, i.e. the Barbies are in power and the Kens are subservient, Margot Robbie goes off into the real world alone with nobody. And Ken is left in Barbie Land alone, but with hope that he can now be whoever he wants to be and no longer has to dote over this intersectional feminist twat waffle. The messaging that Greta Gerwig was trying to get across was failing miserably. And this uber feminist attempt of a movie came across as based as fuck because it clearly demonstrated everything that's wrong with modern day feminism. All the women being cheated out of wonderful relationships with wonderful men for the hope of going out into the real world alone to get a career and no children, alone, to displace themselves from the family, alone. It made them sad, lonely, and pathetic women. Women who were more consumed with revenge, even though they'd gone through absolutely no struggles in Barbie Land whatsoever. Revenge on the Kens for bringing equality to Barbie Land, for bringing happiness for both Kens and Barbies together, making the Barbies want to be with the Kens and the Kens wanting to be with the Barbies. He thought all of those things were bad. That love and relationships and settling down and working together as a man and a woman was bad. So it was laughable. Nothing but absolutely laughable. And it just showed exactly what is good in life. Being with somebody, loving somebody, getting together, becoming a family together. Her message went completely in the direction she didn't want it to go. Margot Robbie was perfect as Barbie. She's an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful woman who's very talented when it comes to acting. She nailed the role. It was brilliant and perfectly made for her. Ryan Gosling, the star of the show, by far stole every single scene that he was in, and he was in plenty. And if they go off and do a Ken movie, that could be one of the funniest things that we've seen in a long, long time in Hollywood, believe it or not. Will Ferrell was in it as the CEO of Mattel, and he was great. It felt like he was ad-libbing every single solitary one of his lines. And if he was, they were all zingers because every time that he was on the screen, it was just hilarious, and you were just laughing along with him. Other than that, you had Kate McKinnon playing the weird Barbie, although there was another weird Barbie with a slightly deeper voice, but we won't go into that because YouTube doesn't like us to. And they were just, but it just kind of fit Kate McKinnon because she's just a weirdo anyway. But the acting was fine. The performances were fine for the most part. And there was plenty of jokes and yucks along the way, whether they were intentional or non-intentional. And I think there were plenty of times that Greta Gerwig was hoping that we were going to frown at Ken and Ken's desire to bring the patriarchy to Barbie Landville type of place. But it ended up with us laughing with Ken, with us supporting Ken, with us wanting Ken to succeed, with us empathizing with Ken. Oh, dear me, Greta. No wonder you're trying to cover your ass with these bases here, because I think you really wanted to produce something that woke Hollywood would turn around and go, so stunning and brave, when ultimately you showed exactly how stupid and ridiculous intersectional feminism truly is, and you just ended up making an unintentionally based as fuck film. I thought it was all right. I did. What are you gonna do about that, chat? I'll see you in the next video. You take care. Bye for now.